Looking at Adela lying down, I see certain things I'll point out to you. First of all, she has a really well-aligned body in general. I can tell that the right leg turns out a little bit more, her right foot turns out. She has one shoulder a little bit higher in this position, and I can see how she's breathing, and I can see her general demeanor, a feeling. I get a feeling of warmth from her. These all give me indications of how I'd like to work with her. So my hands are telling me to go to her back and her neck, so I think I will sit and begin. And you don't have to do anything, just drop down, let your chest down. You want to let this sink. So you don't need to help me. I just ask you to breathe. That's wonderful. Now I could feel her tone, what I call the idling speed of her muscle just drop. So she's able to relax completely. That is really important for de-stressing. If you're not able to let go of your tension, you are going to have a tight and energy tight body, meaning the energy is going to be tied into your body and tied up in your body. So to relax is of critical importance for de-stressing you. Do you work at a computer, or do you do things on the telephone? You use your head in a certain way on a daily basis?
Yeah, I work on the computer.
You work on a computer?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I would work with Adela is to make sure her station at the computer is set up ergonomically. In other words, that her hands are at 90 degrees to her elbows, that the computer screen is directly in front of her eyes and not lower than her eyes or not higher than her eyes, that she's sitting at 90 degrees, her hips are at 90 degrees to her spine, her legs are 90 degrees to her hips, and her feet are at 90 degrees bent, and her feet are flat on the floor. So now I'm just going to lay her head on my fingertips, and I feel that she has pain. I can tell you. Does it hurt you?
Yeah.
Because I felt an increase in tension in her neck as I was putting my fingers under her head. So I'm just going to rest with her, let her lie here with her head on my fingers, and notice how her breathing is affected, if at all. And I can tell that her head is pulled to the left, so it gives me an idea that there's some torquing on the left side. And I'm going to go in with about 15 pounds of pressure. And I know it's painful. Is it painful?
Yes.
So painful for her. So I like to work towards the edge of the pain. The body is able to respond better when it feels an excess of pressure by sending a message neurologically to the muscle to say, let's let go of that area. That's why I'm interested in neuromuscular therapy, which is how I think of my work, because I'm interested in the nerves, how they affect the muscles, and how the whole system works as a unit, as an organism, how we function as a whole.
So thank you very much. I feel much better now.
What feels different? What feels different?
Feels, I had some kind of spasm here around my neck. Now I just feel much more comfortable, with all the movements. Really, it feels so good. If I wanted just to describe it in one word, it's fabulous.
Chiropractic is a method where we can detect various distortions in the muscle system and in the spinal column that might be causing pressure on a nerve. And the resultant pressure many times can make the patient very uncomfortable physically, and after the physical symptoms have been around for a while, emotionally. As you can see from this spinal model over here on the desk, when there is pressure on a nerve and the nerve is pinched, then the nerve cannot function well. This causes stress in the body. This causes initially physical stress. And once the physical stress overwhelms the body, then many times the patient will have mental stress. Going back to this young woman on the table, her right shoulder appears to be a little bit higher than her left. This happens many times when people go into the fight or flight posture. What happens in that position is the neck will be moved forward and the shoulders will hunch, similar to a cat arching its back. And then what will happen is this area will fill up with a great deal of tension. This is when you notice somebody who is not breathing properly and has a shortness of breath and is breathing usually from the upper body instead of from the diaphragm. This is called shallow, anxious breathing. When people breathe this way, this ultimately leads to a decrease in oxygen uptake and various types of anxiety disorders. This is why chiropractic works so wonderful when the mid-back, the dorsal spine is adjusted. The usual sensation immediately after the dorsal adjustment is given is the diaphragm is released, the nerves from the upper back flow freely into the lungs, and then the person usually notices they breathe better. And obviously, once you breathe better, much stress is relieved in the body because the oxygen uptake is much easier. And as you know, the central nervous system, being composed of the brain and the spinal cord, is the master system. And if there is any delay in the message from the brain through the rest of the body, stress will ensue somewhere. So for argument's sake, if the top bone, the atlas, is a little bit to the left or to the right, and the way we detect this is by gentle palpation, and we could sense which way it is, left or right. And if it is to the left or to the right, a little bit, and the cord is being pressed because the cord comes out from the top bone, then the messages will not be transmitted properly. There will be physical stress somewhere in the system, either with a headache, neck pain, or possible other symptoms, and then the resultant emotional tension and stress also. And this is why chiropractic works so wonderfully without any drugs or surgery. With the laying on of my hands, we gently adjust the spine and remove the nerve pressure like so. And when we adjust the atlas, there are several methods. There are non-force techniques and more forceful techniques depending on what the patient needs. And we adjust that gently, and we remove the subluxation or the pinched nerve. Chiropractics use the word subluxation for a pinched nerve, and what that means is that the nerve pressure is not working at 100%. So it's similar to a light bulb that's on a dimmer switch. If you turn the dimmer halfway down and the light does not burn as bright, that is similar to what a subluxation is. The person's nerve energy is not at 100%, so it's at 50%. And whenever you don't have the body's nervous system, the brain and spinal cord, functioning at 100%, stress can result somewhere in the body. So many times I see people come in with a short leg, with their back up or arched, and sometimes with their head tilted to the left or to the right. And from reading this body language, we can determine that there is stress in their musculature and their spinal system. And by adjusting that, then that resultant stress will come out, and then the body will function better, and then the person will feel better emotionally as well as physically.
As humans, and humans being in a physical body, our bodies will communicate with us, particularly in areas of stress or tension. What we want to learn how to do is to listen to our bodies and to listen to what our body's communicating to us. As a massage therapist and body worker, I teach people how to listen to their body, how to move with their bodies, and how to be comfortable and present in their bodies. In this Western society, we tend to be very mental, and when we ask someone, how are you feeling, they may respond with, I think I feel, which is an indication that they're actually in their head as opposed to their body. And what we're wanting to do is to teach people how to be more comfortable in their body, how to eliminate stress, and this is done primarily by first identifying the stress and where it comes from, how it comes into our lives, and then we can release it once we've learned how to. It's not always appropriate for us to receive a massage in certain settings. If you're in the office or if you're in a grocery store and you may have a little tinge or want to have a little bit of relief, there are techniques that can be used for doing a self-massage in the office or in a setting. There are also techniques for working with others. If you're in an office situation and one of your coworkers is experiencing a headache